Soundstripe.
Welcome to South End Supporters, the St. Louis City SC podcast, powered by Ready to Live Wellness, and coming at you from the Warrior Logo Wear studio. Eric Cole alongside the Monday morning center back Dave Wyckoff, as we are back to yet again cover another city loss. But before that, we hope everybody had a safe and good 4th of July. It's kind of sad to be able to sit here and say that if I were to have blown off one of my hands, between the two of us, we would have the same amount of fingers, as City has points currently, as they drop another one out in Salt Lake to Real Salt Lake, 3-2 the final. But before we get into that, Dave, how are we doing this evening? How was your holiday?
That was such a depressing intro.
It's like it's unfortunate. Like when I try to get clever anymore with anything, it's all like just sad. Like there's no like way to spin stuff happy anymore.
It was sad. No, I've still got. If you're on YouTube, I've still got all 10 of my fingers.
Nice.
There were no fireworks had. It was just a long weekend with not doing a whole lot of anything except watching quite a bit of soccer. I mean, even outside of City, it was, since we've spoken on Thursday, there have been some really key matches throughout Europe, and then of course the FIFA Club World Cup. Watched
Women's Euros kicked off.
Watched the Women's Euros this weekend. Spain looks like a friggin' juggernaut. They scored 6 goals again today.
They're unreal.
They're on fire. You've got Tuesday, Fluminense and Chelsea, and FIFA Club World Cup semifinals, and the big one on Wednesday, Real and PSG. That's a matchup. That's tasty, is what that is. But, I mean, to get to that place, you had a really epic matchup between PSG and Bayern that went 2-0 was the final, but really PSG finished the game with 9 men, and it was nuts. And then the Real and Dortmund game, Real had it done and dusted, they thought, 2-0 late, and Dortmund comes and scores, and then Madrid goes back up 3-1 with a ridiculous side bike by Mbappe. But then Huysen pulls down Guirassy in the box on a breakaway and picks up a red card, and then it's 3-2, and it came down to Thibaut Courtois and a game-saving lunge to keep the ball out of the back of the net to what would have been 3-3. So then that was just the Club World Cup. So,
I know, right?
No, it was a great sports weekend. Watched the British Grand Prix on Sunday, which was always fun. So, yeah, man, did you have a good long time with the family and all that good stuff too?
Yeah, we kept it chill. We did Friday. We did like lunch and pool day at South End Stands, which is always nice. It was nice. I know my wife loved it because that was my first time getting to make it to South End Stands so far this year. And when you got 2 kids that are still trying to learn to swim, it's tough to like just relax because you're constantly trying to make sure their little floaties don't flip them over on their face and then their face first in the water, or you get a million daddy watch this type stuff. So it was nice for both of us to kind of, and at one point they got tired, so they went into the patio area and watched a movie, and we just kind of got to lay out and relax. And then we're still in we don't know how they would feel about fireworks, and it's tough to like go commit to go see fireworks. You drive somewhere, you take forever to find a parking spot, and then you'd hate for 5 minutes in, they're like freaking out, and then you got to get out of there. So we're kind of thinking about more so around next year, but so it was just nice chill Friday, and then kept it pretty. We went to the outlets out in Chesterfield on Saturday, just more so because Kristen was craving some Spaghetti Factory, so that was her reasoning for getting out there.
Had to go all the way to Chesterfield for Spaghetti Factory.
I know, right? Which is wild because I made that drive out there, and then literally the next day for work I had to drive right back out there.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a back and forth. You guys do fireworks, or you guys keep it at home?
No, we didn't do. I'm telling you, man, we didn't do anything like 4th related. It's never been and I'll catch heat for this, but I just don't care. It's never been my favorite holiday anyway, even as a kid, and then just it's tough to celebrate things right now without getting too deep into it. But what's the order? What is the menu item out at the Spaghetti Factory? What's the go-to?
So for me, so for Kristen, it's always been that Mississippi brown cheese Mississippi cheese and brown butter.
Yes.
And that's her go-to.
Yes.
And then it's kind of passed along to the kids, because the kids, when they eat pasta just around the house, they just want basically butter noodles, and then Delaney likes to add her own Parmesan cheese onto it. And so that's always been her go-to. That's probably I even asked her. I was like, if you had a death row meal, that would probably be it. And she's like, honestly, yeah, it'd probably be up there. So that's her go-to. And so yeah, the kids, they loved it. And she found out, which is probably going to be bad news for the household, is that Deerberg's actually has Mississippi.
I was just going to tell you, you can find Mississippi cheese, and it's a game changer when you got to be in your own fridge.
Yeah, and so we saw it, and or I saw it there the other day, and I told her, like, it would have sat in my car because I had plans after work, so I told her next time I'd get it. But it even has next to it the recipe for Mississippi brown cheese and butter, so that's her go-to.
So good.
So for me, I usually stick with some sort of like chicken. I love a chicken Parmesan, and the big thing for me with chicken Parmesan is I actually don't like it over breaded. So that's where I'm trying to find always like a nice little option in there. So, and then their house salad, that pesto ranch that they have in there is
yes.
So it was so
That's
good.
That's
so
strong order.
And then you always finish it off with some spumoni ice cream in there. I'm curious to get.
Good for you.
So I want to know your order, and then I also want to know, if you go spumoni ice cream, what's your favorite of the 3 flavors that's in spumoni?
That's good. Let me start with the order. So my go-to has always been the salad, like you said, with the what is it, the pesto ranch?
Pesto ranch, yeah, their
pesto
house.
ranch, yeah. And then the chicken marsala with the side of spaghetti with brown butter and Mississippi cheese. That's a strong. That one's done me well over the years. And then the spumoni ice cream, man, I like that pistachio, Cole. I like that pistachio. It's so. I don't know that I would get after it on its own, but you've got the flavor. You've got the flavor profile combo of the chocolate and the strawberry. Yeah, man, that pistachio, that's where it's at. I really like pistachios anyway on their own. But it's a game changer. A little pistachio flavored ice cream. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I literally said the same thing to Kristen, because we did a swap, because the one that they handed her had more pistachio and the cherry, and she's more the chocolate. So we did the switch on that. And I said that I think the pistachio is my favorite, but I don't think I would ever get it like as an ice cream flavor.
Yeah,
While I do think it's great, it needs an accompanying flavor to make it what it is. And so I'm with you totally on that.
Yes,
so.
it's that's good. That's good stuff. Spaghetti Factory. For a chain, it's a strong chain. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
for the most part.
And,
I mean, it's obviously restaurant dependent, but yeah, it's a pretty strong option for a chain.
It took me forever to even realize it was a chain. I always thought the one down by the landing was the only
You always
location.
thought we had the only one down by the landing.
Like, same like the day I found out it was Panera Bread, not St. Louis Bread Company. Like,
that's
what are
devastating.
You talking about? What are you talking about?
That's devastating.
Panera Bread. What is that?
Yeah.
They're ripping off St. Louis Bread Company's logo and everything.
How about? And this isn't a big thing, but isn't it funny? Like, we don't think about things like that until we're confronted with them in adulthood, and I'm talking about specifically the Panera and the St. Louis Bread. So you've got several things that are like that are called different things in different places, right? So you've got that, and then another couple. You've got what is Rallies here is Checkers, right? Mm-hmm. Checkers elsewhere. I don't know, maybe I don't know, not west of the Rockies, because I think it's Checkers like in the South too. But then you've also got Hardee's and Carl's Jr., and it's Carl's Jr. like west of the Rockies. So interesting. I know there's some sort of marketing strategy to that, but no, I'm the same way with you. I was thought I was a dumb kid. Still a dumb adult too.
Dude,
but the Spaghetti Factory, it was just solid and St. Louis reliable St. Louis staple.
It's the same when you find out about like local like St. Louis cuisine that is like see I remember like when I was younger or my cousins from California came to visit and we were like my mom kept saying you guys got to try the toasted ravioli. I'm like they can try it anytime. What are you talking about? And they're like they were so baffled on like that. And then finding out about like the biggest one for me growing up, my dad used to grill pork steaks, and then finding out like, oh, that's only like a St. Louis, like finding out those like things. Yeah, I'm with you. You feel dumb because you're just like, or like to your point, same with the Panera bread. When I was little and we visited my family in California, I was like, dude, Carl's Jr. is completely ripping off Hardy. Like, I don't know how this is not obvious to them. It's the same star, it's the same everything. And like getting that explanation, you're just like, oh, well.
Yeah, am I the only one that sees this? Like,
yeah.
this is fraudulent. No. But unlike the reliability of the old spaghetti factory, City have continued to prove themselves unreliable in terms of results as they drop another one, this time 3-2 out in Salt Lake. Man, it was funny. I was thinking about this earlier. You know, we said for the longest time, like, God, we kind of want to watch exciting games. We don't care if they lose as long as they're not boring.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think like, okay, I'm on the edge of my seat on all these games because there's there's very little defense being played at all. But am I actually happier? And the answer is no, I'm not. I'm still miserable. I don't know, man. This was a roller coaster of emotions game for me, and I know that I was texting you feverishly, and I'm sure annoying the living shit out of you. But
no, I love it. I love it.
I mean, an uneven effort, but a strangely like effective attack at times. I mean, what do you take out of this game, good or bad?
So I wrote down a couple things, and these are more negatives that I think could be positives if adjusted a little bit. One of the things I was kind of noticing, and again, all these, as usual, I'm probably way off on the way I'm seeing it, but let me know. I felt like we were either too slow in moving the ball, which then created a loss of any sort of chance that would have been there. So there were times where I was seeing those runs and thinking, that's a good run, play him. That's a good run. Or even like hold up play. It was like they would hold it, take another touch, and then eventually they'd have to dribble so far back that it's like, well, we lost any sort of forward momentum we had going. So it was almost just too slow on the ball. And then in vice versa, if we were moving the ball at the correct pace and trying to get the ball working, it was very inaccurate. So then that caused a lot of turnovers throughout the time. It's somewhat, I wouldn't necessarily call them all simple passes, but more like things that it's like, hey, you're doing the thing right, moving the ball or that sort of run, but you're just missing that final pass. There were a few times where I remember Toychert had a break, and we had like a 3-on-3 or a 3-on-2, and I think it was Betcher streaking down the left. And even the announcers, like, he's open. It was one of those, like, announcers, like, probably saying not thinking he's on the mic, just like he's wide open the back. And he took a couple extra touches, and then he tried to make the pass. By then, the defender had closed off that angle. And it was one of those deals where it's like, okay, that was a good run from Betch. We just couldn't find him. So I just kept finding, like, it was either we were too slow on just a lot of things that we were in, or when we were moving and doing things accurately, we just were inaccurate with the passes or the shots or stuff like that. Another thing I noticed was it just kind of seems like we do, and this may be something that is kind of garnered over games that I just have seen unnoticed, where when we do retain possession, sometimes the runs are almost collapsing in on the ball rather than spacing out wide, to where it makes it seem like the defense is pressing us very tight. But what I think it is we're just collapsing in so much space, and the defense is just following us, that space is dwindling. So I would like to see us get a little bit more spread out. I've just noticed that with other teams, they seem to hold their shape really well, and those backdoor runs or just the ability to move the ball seems a little bit more fluid because they're so spaced out, and we're spaced out trying to, mark our mans and stuff like that. So I think just a little bit of spatial awareness, and I think that really was exposed a lot on the defensive end. I think I texted you a couple times throughout that night saying, man, Yarrow's positioning is just off here. And it wasn't just Yarrow, even though I don't think he had a very good game. I think it was a lot of players just kind of being spatially out of position a little bit or collapsing in and just, making it tough for the whoever was on the ball, mainly Hartle, to find those spaces. Last thing that I kind of had more so with Hartle, he has, and this is just tough on him, so this is just a bad critique, but he has found himself with such great runs throughout the night and just throughout the season, finding himself with space right at that top of the box, and he's just struggling to seem to get it on frame. I know he has that capability and he has that finishing power. I see it all the time during warm-ups on the south end. It just seems like, man, if we could just get him practicing those in training and continuing to find that space that he does and just getting more and more comfortable with hitting those on frame, even if it's not a goal, it could cause spillage for an on-running Klaus or Teutschert or something like that. I think we could really, make some big moves as far as for getting him involved more on the score sheet. But I thought Hartle, he played really well. I thought he was doing what he could in finding. I think he led the entire both teams in creative chances created. I know a lot of those came off set pieces, but the biggest thing I noticed was in his set pieces, he was driving the ball. It wasn't as much of that floated ball sort of stuff, and 2 goals come from it. One more an own goal for their sake, but finding Klaus, and it is one where you were on your edge of your seat. You look at it where, man, Klaus finishes off that last meter, and I don't know if it was stoppage time or not, but towards that end of the game, you're escaping out of there with a not-so-great performance on a tie on the road. And so I was with you. It was an exciting game. It kept you, I guess, in it. But it still just had that Houston feel of like, man, we're just not really getting anything flowing. So that's kind of the things I picked up from the game. What about you?
Yeah, let me touch on Hartle real quick. Matt Baker tweeted this out earlier, and I thought it was noteworthy. Marcel Hartle is 4th in all of the MLS in expected assists with 6.3. He's behind Anders Dreyer, Pep Biel, and Christian Espinoza. He's 2nd in MLS in key passes with 60, behind Espinoza at 74. But he's tied for 48th in actual assists for just 3. He's also 4th in the entire league in passes that assist a shot. So I watch him with a very critical eye, and I sometimes think that he is a different player than I want or expect him to be. I feel like he gets pushed off the ball very easily. Now, he's a smaller player. That's not really his game. Okay. But he's catching a lot of weird online flack right now, and it's just not justified because he clearly, the numbers bear it out, he's clearly putting people in position to get chances on goal and score goals. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's doing a phenomenal job of it. Now, those numbers may be a little bit skewed or what his actual role would be if Leuven was still around, if Leuven had been playing, because maybe Leuven takes on a little more of that playmaker role. But no, I thought he had a decent game. I mean, was it just me, or was he actually starting to whip the ball in on crosses and set pieces?
That's what I'm saying.
Did they look flatter?
No, that's what I'm saying. I thought his set piece delivery was not, and there wasn't like, it seems like occasionally we see like 1 out of 4 and the 3 are floated. It felt like
I'm hard pressed. Yeah, I'm hard pressed to remember a point in the game where I got irritated like I have been because of the floated balls played in. No, they were driven, and it seemed like the team overall made more of a concerted effort to try to get the ball into the box in the air through Klaus. Maybe that's I need to look through. I'll look for that stat at some point. But I thought that Klaus had a great game, and he's on such a different level right now. It's really exciting to see. Now, I wish the results were coming along with it, but he's becoming a dangerous player. But I will agree totally with your point earlier about not moving the ball quick enough and then poor decision making in counters. I think one of the poor decisions led to the second goal of a turnover, which, by the way, all credit to RSL. They scored two absolute bangers.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
Yeah,
same.
like
Yeah,
those are absolute worldies. Like Calcican, the volley off the corner was absurd.
yeah,
Um, I never did really get the replay that I wanted to see from that angle to see the actual bend, but
hmm
what a strike that was. And then the goal in the 43rd minute by Goncalves, man, like he put JGR on skates, and then he bangs it in off the side of the inside of the post. Like those two shots, Berkey had absolutely no opportunity
yeah.
whatsoever. Now the defense was Swiss cheese for the most part, and we gotta, the elephant in the room is obviously that Josh Yara was in the back and the center for some reason.
Here's
We're
my
not privy
can I
to.
can I cut you
Yeah,
off real
go
quick?
ahead.
Here's my only
Yeah,
logical thinking of why it was Yarrow, is the rest of the back four were kids. I mean, outside of Totland, yeah, but you had Roscoe, which I thought had a great game for especially being first start, first
yeah,
call
he
up, and
did.
all that type
He
of
really
stuff. I
did.
thought he came out with some fire. I thought he put in some crunching tackles, and I thought all things considered, he had a pretty good game and held his
Yep.
composure, because I know there were a few times where RSL fans tried to get like hyped up that somebody did a move on him, but he was still in positioning. So it was just one of those. But he still held his composure. Whereas a lot of times a kid could feed off that and almost think like, yeah, well, I'll show him, and go in too tough, get burnt, and then he's exposed. So I thought he had a good game. My only logical thinking was post game. It kind of I kept thinking like, why Yarrow? Like you've had Hebert at least for the past, and I know we're really spread thin with center backs at the moment, but I just kept thinking, why Yarrow when at least Heaves has had game time. And I think it's just more the leadership thought process. He's Bennett City 2 captain. He kind of has that a little bit more outspoken deal. And Heaves, just to me, it could be completely different on field. Seems a little bit more quiet and just almost feeds off of another center back kind of taking charge and running things. That was
Yeah.
my only thinking for Yarrow in there.
Yeah. Listen, it wasn't solely the loss wasn't solely on him, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he got credited with a goal. I still can't figure out how that ball went in and how it wasn't a handball on the
Mm-hmm.
second City goal, but we'll take it, I guess. But it was a very just frenetic effort, a very disjointed effort. I thought Wallam's looked really good this year, and I thought that was one of his more frenetic efforts
Yeah.
overall. You still Cedric Teutschert is he's still just trying to find it. I don't know. I don't know with some of these guys. Betcher, same thing, trying to find it. And then I thought that this was the first match where Critch really got the tact, where he really got the initial lineup wrong, and then I thought he waited too long to bring the subs on too.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this. We talk about it off air, off recording all the time. We talked about it on here. There's no way you should be waiting until the 80th minute to get these players into the game. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot. There are so few people that can come in with 10 minutes to play and get right into the game and make an actual impact. Not only is it bringing on their skill set, but everybody on the field's got to adjust to their skill set as well. So when you bring on Tyson Pierce, which was an interesting substitution, I thought he looked okay.
Mm-hmm.
Joyner came on and was immediately dangerous in the air. And then Zonde just looks lost for the most part, man. I don't get it. And again, there's no time for them to grow into the game because you're waiting until really really late to bring these guys on.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the first game where Critch really he kind of waited. Celio came on late
Mm-hmm.
and again just hesitant, and the one or two times that he goes, he causes problems. But
Right.
he's become a trail merchant all of a sudden now, and if he's going to do that, he may as well not even be on the pitch.
Yeah. Couple you brought up a couple of points that I want to run through real quick is the late substitutions. I agree with you. I kept sitting there going like I can't see why he hasn't made a substitution yet. Like it was just there wasn't really anything to where I feel like a lot of these players were doing anything outstandish that they still need to be on the field. I don't know if it was just hesitancy with maybe some fitness stuff, or you have a lot of brought up 3 City 2 players that you're just a little hesitant to bring in. I thought we were really exposed through the middle. I thought both Ostrak and Wallum just didn't seem to click in the middle of the field. Zonde, you brought it up, and it's kind of one of those eureka moments. He just looks too lackadaisical on the ball. He just looks like when he dribbles, he just feels like he's got all day to do it. And there's many times where he just dribbled and just looked very nonchalant through the middle of the park. And I'm thinking, if you're at that pace and you have space in front of you, go at him. You've shown that you can be successful with those dribbles. And it's kind of the same with Celio. It's like, man, when you go, you're our most dangerous player, and you can be that guy that we've touched on before of somebody who can take the game by the scruff of the neck and create chances. And especially with how dangerous we are on corners throughout the night, why not drive the line and be dangerous and try and earn a corner, or at least get one in the box? Like, you were seeing what was working, and he thrives off of that. Like, you would like to see more. Again, to your point, he was brought in so late that maybe it's just he's one of those people that just takes a while to get that comfort. But unfortunately, again, it's just the inconsistency kind of with Celio on how dangerous he can be, but he doesn't go for it as much. Last thing that you brought up that I find interesting, you saying Hartl's kind of getting a lot of flack online. We touched on this a little bit earlier in the year with the Klaus. Do you think a lot of that is coming more so from people looking at the stats and then seeing the DP tag to it, rather than just what he actually is creating on the field and putting in those dangerous chances? Like you said, like,
I'm sure.
He's leading the league in so many chances created or possible assists that could be there. Some of these times you can't really fault him. That ball into Klaus, that should be at least on frame or something to that point. Or there's been a few times where he slid in Betch, or even Toichert a few times, that it was either a great save like Toichert had on him, their keeper made on Toichert early on. But I just wonder if that heat comes from that DP tag and people knowing like he should be our most important player out there, but they're not, seeing maybe what he is actually doing, and then also realizing like he needs that support of somebody like Leuven who can find him in those creative spaces rather than him being the playmaker, because with him being the playmaker requires him on the ball more, and to your point, means that if he's getting bodied off it too many times, that just allows for a quick transition and we're exposed in there.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the box score brigade for sure.
Yeah.
It's not, it's a results driven league. Don't get me wrong, and him only having 2 goals and 3 assists or whatever it is, making the amount of money and taking that slot up, it's poor optically, but it's not for lack of generating chances. And we can wrap it up here with just the little anecdote about how this week's episode, how Tuesday's episode is going to get its title. How the F do you miss that? Because, obviously Klaus had the opportunity at the end of the game. And listen, it was not a gimme. And I responded to some Redditors when we were looking for South End submissions. It was not a gimme by any means. It was a tough header. He got good strike on it with his head too, man. I think he'll tell you that it probably should have been in the goal. But the moral of the whole thing being like that's the story of this season, and you could start from the very beginning when you can apply how the F do you miss that, how the F do you miss out on the conflict between Olaf and the players, right? Mm-hmm. How the F do you miss out on some of these guys that have been injured since training camp, and some of them now who are on the season-ending injured list. How in the F do you miss all the chances that they have missed this year? Even when the offense wasn't generating a lot of opportunities. So I think that kind of sums everything up. And the point being, Hartle was the one that played that ball in late, mm-hmm. and how the F do you miss that? I mean, that's kind of the story of the season. So. That's it is what it is. We're not playing for pride at this point, playing to not have the wooden spoon, whatever. Yeah. It's kind of a rudderless ship right now, and I think more than anything what people want is answers and direction. And we'll talk in news and notes about there are some signings potentially out there, but should we even really get excited about them? yet. What little we do know about them, or what little we think we do know about some of them. We're not sure who the coach is going to be. We're not really sure who the sporting director and the GM are going to be. So tough times. But again, and I've seen a lot of people tag this mindset and their outpouring of anger and frustration with, I'd still rather have a team than not have one. And that's the attitude to have. We'll get through it eventually. It's just dark days right now, man.
Yeah, I agree. First off, with the point of we have a team, and I know that that
It
phrase.
sounds like a cop out, but it's really how we feel.
It's
right?
truly. I mean,
Yeah.
we still. You know what? The thing is every week I'm still
Yeah.
early to the stadium, or I'm early to watch the game. I'm checking out the lineups. I'm reading news. Like, it's my team, and it's something I'll always.
I'm ready. I'm ready to be heard again.
Yeah, it's just like that Michael Scott. Yes, I'm ready to be heard again. That you're exactly right. And not to really defend this team again too much, but you look at that game, and they have quite a few chances. Berkey still yet again made Berkey saves, and he obviously kept them in the game. But you had two worldies that nobody, and that was the first thing I said to Kristen when we were watching. I was like, "There's just nothing you can do about that. Like, Berkey's not getting fingertips on that. He's full out. He read it well. It's just one of those hits for the first two goals, and then you have an own goal. I mean, you look at it that way. It just seems like we just keep getting those types of games where it's just we're beating ourselves, and unfortunately, the other teams are just coming out and they're putting away fantastic chances, and you have to sit there and just kind of almost say, what do you do about that? There is some things we as City could be doing about that on the field, but it's hopefully going to come. It's like you said, it's just such an injury prone, up in the air. Who's the coach? Who's anything? What direction are we going? Who's going to be available? All that type of stuff, type of season. And I think at this point, you just look to find the positives going for the remainder of the season, build off of that. You pick up some wins here and there. Great. You maybe flirt with the idea of, at least making a run. Not saying I think playoffs are getting further and further away, but you at least, you still play for them like they're still there, and you just look for things to kind of build off the remainder of the season. But yet again, unfortunately, as we said, City drop points on the road to RSL, losing 3-2. They'll look to bounce back this Sunday as they look to take on the Portland Timbers at home at City Park. That game will be at 6 o'clock, and we'll have that STL Kalachi preview coming up later this week. But before we get into all that, you burn a lot of these games, burn a lot of calories during these games with all the excitement, whether it's good or bad, coming your way. But you got to stay in shape for burning those calories in exciting games like that and taking care of your health. And the best place to go do that is at Ready to Live Wellness. They have a couple exciting things coming up for the month of July, just so far announced. They're going to be hosting another Ruckin' Coffee. So you grab some coffee, throw on a weight vest, or even if you don't want to wear a weight vest, go for a nice walk with a bunch of group of people. Nice, relaxing atmosphere. It's a lot of fun. They're also going to be hosting a cornhole tournament. I believe it's going to be on July 2nd. They're bouncing back and forth on the dates. And then they're also going to have some more of the breath exposure classes. They're going to have fire and ice, the heat and the ice baths and all that type of stuff going forward. But it's a one-stop shop. No matter what your health and fitness goals you're looking to take care of, they'll keep you on track with all your goals, and then making sure you're taking care of your body and keeping yourself moving and healthy as best you can. It's one place to go. It's Ready to Live Wellness. So if you are looking to get back on D, like the Monday morning or the double MCB in the over 30 league, you got to go check out Ready to Live Wellness.
That was such a good effort.
Took me a while to come up with that one, and it's such a
I
tongue
applaud
twister.
the effort. I applaud.
I just can't
Good
say
job.
the other great saying about myself, so I figured I'd go that route. And then, of course, if you're going to look good, you got to feel good. Or feel good, you got to look good. And you got to go check out one place. It's Warrior Logo Wear. Dave, tell them about that.
12 East Main Street, Muscooda, Illinois. Warrior Logo Wear is there to meet all your individual and team sportswear needs. They've got t-shirts, hats, and hoodies, but they can also hook you up with team sports uniforms and promotional swag for your business. They can also help you set up a fully customizable online store with your products featuring your logo or a logo they help you design. No order minimums on those, and they're the perfect size for any event or company. So check them out on Instagram at Warrior Logo Wear, all lowercase, or at Warrior Logo Wear on Twitter, capital W, capital L, capital W, and of course, WarriorLogoWear.com, the official swag sponsor of the South End supporters. Eric, speaking of just nasty swag, that white South End supporters hat is real sick. I know that people can't listen to it if they're just listening to the podcast, but that logo on the white hat is it pops. And I like my logos to pop.
Yeah, this is the summer hat because I feel weird wearing an all white hat during the winter. So during these hot months, got to bust it out every once in a while. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Is it fitted or is it the trucker?
No, it's the trucker. So we'll have to. Again, one of these days we'll come up with more merch ideas and finally get on those and get some of those out because I know people
need the marketing department on it.
Yeah. So check out Warrior Logo Wear, and as well, just before I came down here, me and the kiddos upstairs were kicking around the soccer ball. My oldest, she's really getting back into it, and one of the reasons she's been into it is she started out at Elite FT with some Bosco buddies, and Lakeland now turning 2. She's almost to that point where she can get involved. I think we might even have a little lefty on our hands because she's been kicking with the left foot. Yeah, I know, taking after her Uncle Dave there. So before we're going to get into these elite news and notes, and of course that's brought to you by Elite FT.
Elite FT is the premier youth sports training program in the Metro East, and they've been doing it since 2002 with the mission of providing a safe, educational, challenging, and fun environment where coaches can instruct and challenge athletes, helping them become confident, disciplined, and elite. As Eric was talking about, you can start them off in Bosco's Buddies. Those are for the 2- and 3-year-olds and the pre-K. Bosco's Buddies classes teach your future superstar the basic soccer fundamentals while focusing on socialization, sportsmanship, and most importantly, fun. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. If you've got kids that are a little bit more advanced, they can also provide soccer programs and trainings from grades K through 8. They are speed and agility classes. There's private and team training. All kinds of great stuff over there. I'm a client. Eric's brother's a coach. Just a top-notch company. Justin McMillan, owner, proprietor, Granite City legend, has been doing it for a long time, and they just continue to get better every year. So check out EliteFT.com or EliteFT Soccer on all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. 101 The Game Drive for Brick and Mortar and Glen Carbon. So they bring you this week's elite news and notes from the back post. So we'll start on a bit of a sour, somber note that Rasmus Alm has been placed on season-ending I guess you would call it IR. I'm not sure what the list is in the MLS, but this may be the last we see of Rasmus, and we didn't see a ton of him. I think he only started, 8 games, in his City tenure. So that's, which is wild. I mean, he obviously made quite a few more appearances, and he had some really memorable moments. I'm thinking most notably there was a 3-1 game.
Was it Chicago where he had that the
game against Chicago where he scored that sick goal from way out. That's my most memorable moment. But brought that level of speed that this team has been sorely missing for a long time, and it just sucks. It sucks that he never really got the opportunity to shine. Played in 9 MLS matches. City were 7-1-1 in MLS matches that Rasmus Alm played in. So
wow,
really tough go. Hopefully he gets healthy. But just kind of tough. Kind of the story of the season, right? Never was healthy, and then continued to get worse and worse, and ended up having to shut him down. So.
He said he said on his Instagram he's been battling this for 2 years, and it's just it's a bummer.
Yeah, it's tough. On a little bit, I guess, lateral news. City have loaned out. Remember the name? Selmir Pedro? Remember that guy?
Yeah,
remember how he was supposed to be
I thought he was gone already, honestly. But yeah,
No,
it's one of
well,
those. Yeah.
he was gone. He's back. He's here. Um, he has been loaned out to the Bosnian Premier League side FK Velez Mostar through the end of December 2025, and that's the conclusion of his contract with City SC. So Pedro was the first official signing by City in 2022, and I don't. Did we ever see him start an MLS game?
I believe, yeah, I think he like early on because he's been one of our higher paid players. I always remember seeing him towards the top of like I think because he was that first signing. That's probably going to be a Sharoni trivia fact at some point for you guys.
Ooh,
First
that's a good one.
City signing
Yeah.
because you wouldn't think that name, but yeah, it just I think it was one of those deals where it fell out of favor, just never really returned. Always on loan, just trying to get him. It seemed like when
Yeah.
he'd go on loan, you get little bits of clips of him doing okay, but I just don't think he was developing the way that they saw. It's just a shame that you're going to see his contract basically run out and you don't get anything really for him, but at least he's getting a loan, so we're getting his wages, I'm imagining, covered. But yeah, just never really clicked on for City.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because I mean, you would have liked to have seen him get an extended opportunity, like you'd like to see all these guys, but it just for whatever reason, never really worked out. So moving on. Let's see what else we've got here. I know we've got some signing stuff that we could potentially talk about, but there was one more thing, and now I can't find it, of course. So we'll just move on to some rumored signings because it's silly season, as we've talked about before. And again, take all these with a grain of salt because we really don't know anything about a lot of these signings. I know there was the Paraguayan player that they were connected to a couple weeks ago, but I haven't heard anything more about that. But this one appears to have some legs. So Martin Bjerke is reporting that St. Louis City FC have put in a bid and are close to signing Fredrikstad center back Falou Fall from Senegal. He's 21 years old. And according to Martin, could be either one, I don't know, 3 days ago, personal terms were not believed to be an issue and the deal was soon to be agreed upon. So Falou Fall, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name. Fredrikstad is Norway's first division, but Falou is a player in the Reims French team. He is under contract with them, and he was on loan. And I don't know if that means that if this is a full buy clause. I mean, it's $4 million. So it kind of seems like you wouldn't pay $4 million in MLS to get a player on loan.
Right.
But he's been part of this Reims team, this Reims club out of France. They're currently in League Two. Another center back, a real young guy. That's good to see. But I don't know. I don't know enough about the player, and this kind of goes back to the whole mystery of Lutz's connections in Europe, and it's who knows. I don't know. I have no idea how to speculate on the quality of the French second division or the Norway first division. I got to think that the Norwegian first division is probably a big drop from the MLS. I mean, there's just no telling until it's useless to speculate until the signing is made and he gets here and he can train with the team and you can see him in a game. Otherwise, we're just twiddling our thumbs and hoping.
Yeah, yeah. It's one that I mean, just from initial reports or things I've seen, is not one that jumps out with excitement, and I think that's probably what a lot of the fan base feels like. Not that I think we need to go get a name, but it's just, to your point, it feels like he's going to be jumping up a league to come to the MLS. I've only seen a quick little, and again, you only see highlight reels, and that doesn't really, tell the tale of the tape on the player. It was like 4 corner kick headed goals. I mean, it's just not. I didn't see any defensive action or anything like that. And even if you do, you're only seeing tackles won. You're not seeing possible out of positioning and that type of stuff. Same that we got with JGR. I remember when we saw that, it was like, all crunching tackles and you were excited about it, and then it's another one where they're like, he's more for the future, and it's like, well, we kind of need help now, like, and
Yeah.
then when you're always buying players for the future, who knows what their future could turn out to be. So, but I'm with you. It's just all these rumors and signings I kind of have just glanced over because let me see something official. It's official. Then I'll kind of do a little bit more research on the player, and maybe it'll change my
Yeah.
mind from there.
I will say it is exciting, the prospect of some players out of the African corridor. I do think that's real exciting. Senegal's on fire right now in terms of pumping out talent. Senegal was it England in a friendly last week or week
I
before, England
believe, yeah.
men. Yeah, so Senegal's not some sort of pushover soccer nation anymore. So I'm excited about that. I mean, I was excited about the idea of some South American players too. I mean, different players bring different passions from different parts of the world. That's just a fact.
Hmm.
And not to say that German players don't play with us with a passion, but maybe this team needs more of just the African players play with a lot of pace and a lot of aggression, very similar to South American. So maybe that's what they need. I don't know. I don't know what they need,
Yeah, I
but
think having a different variety can offer you different options or different play styles for the way different games are going. If you kind of buy only players that fit one lane and a
yeah,
game's going a different way, you need a little bit of options. I'll tell you one thing before we move on to the next thing is that the only thing I want to see from now on, as far as any rumors or possible signings or anything, show me their injury report. I want to know what their injury history is like.
I
That's all
want to
I need to
see
know
a
from here on out.
physical
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a full injury report. Yeah.
Multiple physicals. Yeah.
My last bit of news and notes is just to want to briefly touch on the Gold Cup final from last night. Mexico defeated the United States 2-1. A United States team that really, in terms of talent, I feel we're really behind, and just personnel, we're really behind this Mexico team. Mexico essentially had their full squad, short of maybe, I don't know, is Chucky Lozano maybe? I get, and I doubt that maybe he didn't get the call up because he was playing with San Diego, so maybe he's not part of the international scene anymore. But Mexico really controlled most of this game. They had 60% possession. They looked really dangerous a lot of times. Matt Freese made some really good saves, but I mean, it was a good game, right? It was what you would expect to see from a Mexico side that's got more quality than what that U.S. roster had, and they gave them all they could. Chris Richards scored an awesome goal on a really good set piece from Sebastian Berghalter. Yeah, I listen, and I think they started the same team 4 games in a row. And if you looked at the guys that were coming in off the bench, they were very unrecognizable names. Although they had some talent. You had the Tolkien kid. You had Damian Downs. You had the kid from Houston, the good left footer.
Hmm.
They showed well, and at the end of the day, it's a loss, and it's a loss to Mexico in a major tournament, which sucks. I think that was the first time that Mexico had beaten the United States in 6 years. I think.
Yeah, they said something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the talking heads, the so-called self-titled pundits are going to sit there and say, it's some sort of a failure because the World Cup's less than a year out. I think that this was huge for Poch, and if they had find a way to win the damn thing,
Hmm.
he might have gotten carried out of there on his shoulders. I mean, that on the player's shoulders. I think more than anything, what it showed is his ability to take lesser quality of players and get them to play together enough in tournament style international soccer to get them into a final and very very nearly come up with a result. Now, what I expect come World Cup time next year is out of all these players, and I'm going to go through the list real quick, Eric, and I know we're running a little bit over, but I think that you'll indulge me with this. So, out of these starters, out of 11 starters, I think that maybe you'll have Tim Ream as the starter. You'll have I think Chris Richards has earned starting center back spot for the United States right now. By the way, like no
Agreed.
question, Tim
Nope,
Ream,
agreed.
Chris Richards need to be your two starting center backs. Tyler Adams, he'll be your six. And maybe Malik Tillman, because he had a really good tournament. I feel like he's more maybe first guy off the bench if you need more offense. Sub it in for a guy like Tyler Adams if you're late. But that's three starters. And then I guess maybe Matt Freese is in the conversation now, although I think that you still have to talk about you still have to talk about him and oh God, I'm losing my damn mind. The other Matt, the other keeper.
Turner.
Matt Turner, and then that position's up in the air, and I don't think the United States goalkeeper is make or break for this team, but regardless, 3 out of 11 starters will probably be on that squad. I think what you're going to look more at is, okay, out of all these guys, who helps me out best on my bench now? And I think I think Malik Tillman absolutely has to be in your midfield rotation, 100%. I think Diego Luna. His skill set is a bit redundant for the guys that you're going to have because you're going to have Adams, McKinney, Musa, Tillman. I have to think who else you would even have in that midfield. Maybe Luna's your fifth midfielder, something like that. But I don't think you're going to see Berghalter. Ajimang, he's not the answer. He scored a couple goals and he got anointed the new number 9. He's not the answer. Luca Del Torre is a good depth guy, but I don't feel like he'll be a big contributor. And then the Freeman kid, he had a tough game. He had a good tournament, but he had a tough game. Arston had a decent tournament, but he also had a tough game. Looking at the rest of these, Damian Downs, McGlynn, Tolkien, Brendan Aronson maybe will be on the bench, but I think right now I'd rather have Diego Luna on that roster than Brendan Aronson, which I never thought I would have said before.
Right.
But other than that, you're looking at 6, 7 of these guys off that whole 18-man roster that I think even belong in the conversation to be at the World Cup next year.
Yeah, the things I picked up from the tournament, but more so from the game, is I think this was a good tournament for Poch to really see who can I bring with me to accompany these guys. Where, like you said, Luna, where I think Luna is exciting would be off the bench. I don't really see him as a full 90 or a starter to carry you through a game, but what I could see is him coming off the bench and bringing some spark and some life. So I do think a couple of these guys have earned themselves to be in the conversation. To your point, more so maybe off the bench, but hey, to be able to say that you're a part of a World Cup squad, possibly getting minutes in a World Cup squad, that's huge. I think the other thing it showed just from that game that I liked out of Poch was, rather than in the past where I felt like coaches have just had a system and those players have to adjust to this system, whether it's working or not, he seemed to adapt more to the game. I think there was one point where he noticed Luna was just struggling to get back on D. He started to have him stay a little bit high and a little bit more central to try and get on the ball. Like making those sort of in-game adjustments rather than just, we got to stick with this and it's going to work. And that's what I felt hindered us in the past with the amount of talent we have. Last thing I have on the game is, it was nice finally getting to watch. I love the intensity and the rivalry that the games bring, but I was happy that the game just played out. There was no like excessive let's start a fight every 5 minutes or any extremes like that. It was a well-played U.S.-Mexico game. I still felt like the ferocity was still there, the intensity was still there, but it didn't take away from the actual flow of the game. I just thought to your point, just saw the difference between probably experience. Mexico just looked a lot more experienced. They pressed a lot harder because they felt like some of the guys would struggle with that sort of intensity, and you just kind of saw the difference in international experience to me. But I think it was a good showing by the U.S. Again, no matter what any of the talking heads say, based off what squad that we had available to us, and I think it also showed that there's some players there that deserve to be on the squad come next year.
Yeah, just one wrap-up quote from Poch on the tournament. It's a massive lesson for us. I think it's priceless. I think it was an amazing tournament to realize the way that we want to grow. It's also a very, very painful night. When you lose a trophy or lose a game, it's really, really painful, but the most important thing to do is have our heads up. So that's from the coach, and that's kind of what I want to hear. That's kind of what I want to hear. And man, part of me, so I am totally in the corner of all the guys that took the time off. All of them. Injuries, fatigue, whatever. I'm totally in their corner. But there is a part of me that, man, if the U.S. had won that with that squad that they had, and it just to light the fire of, hey guys, we don't need you to be tops in CONCACAF. I mean, that to me could have been a motivating thing. But maybe they could turn around and be like, look, with our reserves, we're the second best team in CONCACAF. When we come back, we're running this shit. And I really think they should. There's no reason in the world that with Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Tim Weah, Ricardo Pepi, Robinson, Scally, all these guys come back. There's no reason in the world that they should just destroy a team like Mexico. They shouldn't just destroy CONCACAF, and they shouldn't be competitive in the World Cup. So, that's the lesson I'm taking out. I refuse to let the cowboy-hatted assholes that play to the crowd dampen my enthusiasm for this world. Was that not just the biggest joke in the world? Like, who are you?
I just think he has to be playing into it at this point.
He's
got
got
to be one of those like
serious
clickbait,
main
rage bait type deals that he's just feeding off of because he knows it's going to get clicks. But
he's feeding off of me.
And then, I know. But to your point, I agree with the rest. I saw Pulisic reported to AC Milan today. Could you imagine him finishing up that tournament and then having to go and then report the kid's never going to get a break, and you just want him to be healthy and building off his best. I have a couple just quick news stories real quick before we'll wrap up tonight. One was City 2. They defeated the Real Monarchs 3-1. A couple really well-worked goals. McSorley, Yaskalainen, and Kidd all in the score sheet. I think Joyner had a couple assists in there. I think Zielinski got a little bit of time as well. So just a really good game out of them. I thought they looked really strong throughout the entire game, and their team of the month as well. So City 2 right now is rolling, and it's exciting. Yeah,
Zielinski played, Pierce played, and Joyner played. So they all got supplemental time with City 2. Maybe that was part of the reason that they didn't come in until later in the game. But City 2 just keeps rolling. They just keep on doing it.
Yep. Love to see it. And then the last thing I have on my end, it's more for the Villa game. It's red, white, and Villa is what they're calling it. And right now, it seems like they're struggling to push tickets for that game. Because,
I wonder why.
Yeah, no kidding. But up until July 10th, so you'll have a couple days still to get this in. But if you use the code FIREWORKS, I guess at SeatGeek checkout, you could save 50% on those tickets. So if you are wanting to get in to see City versus Villa, use that code FIREWORKS at checkout. Save yourself 50% on your tickets. Fill that stadium. Get to see a Premier League team. A lot of talent on that Villa squad. So imagine you'll get to see some big names that otherwise you wouldn't get to see in person. So
what night is that? Is that July 16th? 30, is that right?
July 30th, I believe, is the game because
July 30th. Oh, that's right. Okay, I was thinking the wrong week. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll actually be watching United lose to Bournemouth in Chicago that weekend. Otherwise, I'd probably take advantage of that deal. But it's still cool having a Premier League side on our turf.
If you are a City fan and you don't feel like spending any more of your money at the park to watch this team, what we recommend you do is take that money that you would have spent at the Villa game and bring that to Felix's Pizza Pub and hang out with us for the watch party on July 19th against, who are we playing? I forgot. Dallas.
FC Dallas.
FC Dallas. Yes, so July 19th at Felix's. We want to see you. We want to meet new people. We want to see our old friends. We just want to have a good time and watch some soccer, win or lose, more likely than anything. But July 19th, Felix Pizza Pub. I think kickoff is 7:30 that night. We'll be there earlier. Hopefully we'll have some stickers and maybe some other stuff to pass out, and we can't wait. I can't wait. I've been waiting for this since the one last year.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. What a transition. First off, I want to give you that. You've had a couple tonight that have been phenomenal, so I want to compliment you. But yeah, I'm super excited for it as well. It's always been a great time every time we go there. City on Tap Bar, everybody gets into it, the servers, the staff, everybody's just all into it. But getting to meet everybody or just hang out with faces that we don't get to see too often it's such a great time, and we're looking so forward to it. So, yes, July 19th, 7:30 kickoff time, but we'll be down there. Felix's Pizza Pub at 6401 Clayton Avenue, and they are one of those sponsors that'll bring you the Felix's Pizza Pub South End submissions later on in this episode. But We, of course, want to thank all our sponsors of this show, starting out with Ready to Live Wellness. Make sure you go check them out at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard, as well as our studio sponsor, Warrior Logo Wear, 12 East Main Street in Mascoutah, Illinois. Those are the title sponsors. We had the Elite FT Elite News and Notes. We just wrapped that up. Make sure you go check them out at 101 The Game Drive in Glen Carbon, and as well at EliteFT.com. Later on in this week, we'll have our STL Kalachi preview, and that'll be brought to you by STL Kalachi in Sunset Hills. Go check them out at 1530 South Kirkwood Road in St. Louis. And as we just said, we'll bring you those Felix's Pizza Pub South End submissions as well. No better place to go watch any game as a City on Tap bar. It's at 6401 Clayton Avenue in Dogtown. To keep up with all updates as far as that watch party or just anything going on with South End supporters, make sure you're following us on all our socials. On Instagram, we're South End Supporters. Our Twitter and our Reddit is _SES_podcast STL. Check out our Facebook page as well as our YouTube. That way you keep up with all things South End Supporters. So for myself, Eric Cole, for the Monday Morning Sitter back, Dave Wyckoff, and our buddy Dave Heck, who's out tonight, you've been listening to South End Supporters. We'll see you next week. And until then, let's go City.